Let's bring in New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. She is the chairwoman of the House Republican Conference. Congresswoman, I want to hit you with some data because we love data around here. Let's talk about the gender gap. New York Times Siena poll finds Harris leading Trump among women by 12 points. He leads her among men by 14 for a total gender gap of 26 points. Here's what we know so far from the early and absentee voting. Women outpacing men 53.3% to 44.2%. Trump says he's doing better among women than Kamala Harris is among men, but there's that substantial gender gap. He's got to get a lot of women out to the polls tomorrow for day of voting. How is he going to do it?
Well, first of all, the data points to that President Trump is doing better with women than Kamala Harris is doing with men. And what's really important is that under President Trump, today's Republican Party has grown tremendously. Look at the historic support among African-American voters. Look at the historic support among Latino voters, working-class voters, union voters. These are voters that are part of demographic groups that previously the Democrat Party thought they were entitled to. President Trump has earned their support. And I believe that you're going to see working-class women turn out in support of President Trump because of his effective policies. Women under President Trump's economy, there was more women in the workforce than ever before. We had the highest wage and salary increase ever in our nation's history under President Trump. And look at what's happened under Kamala Harris. The inflation crisis, the border crisis, those are top of the mind for women and men voters across the country.
Congresswoman Sandra here, thanks for coming on with us. A lot will be said about 48 hours from now from Trump's closing arguments with voters and whether or not he was reaching out to those undecided voters in these final hours. I wonder if there was a better use of Nikki Haley, and you can answer that question in a moment. I'll put this up on the screen. This is from the Wall Street Journal. She says Trump isn't perfect, but he's the better choice. This is from Sunday's edition. I agree with Mr. Trump that America should be strong, far stronger than we are today, she writes. When he was president, Russia didn't invade another country. Iran was on its heels. China received serious pushback for the first time in decades, and our southern border was more secure. The world is unsafe under Biden-Harris, and we shouldn't expect that to change under a Harris administration. So perhaps was there a better use of her in these final days? Your thoughts?
Look, Nikki Haley wrote the op-ed about why she's supporting President Trump, and the reality is you have women crisscrossing the country, whether it's Tulsi Gabbard, previously a registered Democrat, female member of Congress, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, myself, Kristi Noem. You have senior women who have run his campaign, like Susie Wiles, Kellyanne Conway did in 2016. You have senior-level people around President Trump. And what I think has been a disgrace in the final chapter is you had Kamala Harris's top ally, Mark Cuban, smear the women around President Trump, saying he does not surround himself with smart, strong, intelligent women. The reality is there are smart, intelligent, strong women across this country who are not only campaigning with President Trump at the most senior levels, but that are voting for him. So, you know, certainly we can talk about that after the election cycle, but the reality is you have women crisscrossing this country working to get out the vote for President Trump. And the most important message I want to give to voters today is get out and vote. It's we the people that will determine the outcome of this election. We the people need to save America and vote Trump tomorrow.
Congresswoman, we want to come here to the touch screen because we want to take on the balance of power in the House. And I know that this is something that's very important to you. Republicans projected to get 208 seats, Democrats 205. That leaves 22 as the toss-up. We want to go here to the big map outside. I'm going to have to use the presidential races here. Let's use this path to 270 to talk about some of the races that are very, very important here. Alaska. I know that Richard Hudson, who's the NRCC chair, says they think they can flip a seat here. He also thinks that in North Carolina, they can pick up 4 seats. Maine, they can flip Maine number 2. California, there's 5 close races. There's 3 in New York, including New York 17 with Mike Lawler. The balance of power here in the House could come down to New York and California, which are typically thought of just as Democratic strongholds, but some important Republican seats there. How do you think the night is going to go?
So I think President Trump is going to have tremendous coattails, and House Republicans are going to overperform just like we did in 2016 and 2020, the last 2 times that President Trump was on the ballot. You point out a really important trend in that both California and New York are traditionally viewed as blue states. But people are experiencing the double whammy of failed policies of Kamala Harris with state policies that are horrific by Democrat governors. That's why you saw flipped seats in New York. We flipped 5 seats in the midterms. And in every single district in New York and every swing district across the country, Kamala Harris is underperforming Joe Biden's 2020 numbers. And I'll give you an example. If you look at one of the top targeted seats in New York, a district that Joe Biden won by 15 points, President Trump is ahead by 2 points today. That is a 17-point swing. So we are very optimistic that so goes the presidency, will go the House, and President Trump is the most effective candidate ever in modern history of either party in turning out votes. So I believe that we will pick up seats this election cycle. Alaska, Maine, we're going to hold the New York seats. We pick up 4 in North Carolina, as well as seats in Michigan, Texas, and elsewhere.
All right, so there's the balance of power again. 218 needed for the majority. Republicans 10 away with 22 toss-up seats. We will see how it goes. It's going to be a nail-biter. Congresswoman, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman.
Thank you.